Maybe this feels familiar. You're sitting there, phone in hand, wondering why the woman you thought cared about you suddenly seems distant. One day she's laughing at your jokes, giving you her time, making you feel like you matter, and then out of nowhere she goes quiet. Messages left on read, calls not returned. Conversations that used to flow now feel one-sided. If this is you, you know the pit in your stomach that follows, the endless questions that echo in your mind. Did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard? Or does this mean she doesn't feel the same way I do? It's confusing, isn't it? Because if she truly cared, why would she ignore you? Why would she pull away when all you wanted was to get closer? You replay every moment, searching for clues in her words, her expressions, the way she used to look at you. You convince yourself maybe she just needs space, but deep down it feels personal. It feels like rejection disguised as silence. And the silence hurts more than words ever could. It's the waiting, the not knowing, the constant cycle of hope and disappointment. Maybe you find yourself checking your phone more often than you'd like to admit, only to see nothing, no reply, no effort, just emptiness where her attention used to be. If this is you, you've probably even tried to rationalize it. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's testing me, maybe she doesn't want to seem too interested. But each excuse feels thinner than the last, and what lingers is a sharp ache, a feeling that somehow love shouldn't feel this confusing, this uncertain, this lonely. You've probably asked yourself, if she really loved me, wouldn't she want to talk to me? Wouldn't she want to see me? Wouldn't she want to be close, not far away? And yet, here you are, stuck in the space between what you believe love should look like and the reality of what you're experiencing. If this is you, you're not alone. You're not weak for feeling this way. Every man who has ever cared deeply has wrestled with this exact question. But here's the twist. Sometimes love doesn't look like constant attention. Sometimes the way a woman loves you doesn't fit the script you've been carrying in your head. And so the question becomes, when she ignores you, is it really disinterest, or could it be the deepest, strangest way she's showing that she actually does love you? Most men get this wrong. They see a woman ignoring them and instantly jump to the conclusion that she's lost interest. They panic, overthink, and start chasing harder. They send double texts, try to fix the silence, or begin questioning their own worth. And every time they do this, they give away the very thing that makes them attractive in the first place, their calm, steady presence. The truth is, silence doesn't always mean rejection. A woman's behavior isn't always linear, and it isn't always logical from a man's perspective. Sometimes when a woman loves you, she will ignore you, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. She may step back when her emotions become overwhelming, when her feelings are stronger than she knows how to handle, and for a man who isn't grounded in his own frame, this distance feels like a threat. But for a man who understands his role, it's simply another test of patience and strength. The core mistake men make is believing that love should look like constant reassurance, that if she's not giving attention every moment, something is wrong. But here's the principle you need to anchor yourself in. Masculine energy is about stability, not reaction. A man rooted in himself doesn't need validation in every second of interaction. He understands that attraction ebbs and flows, and that a woman's pullback doesn't mean abandonment. It often means she's processing, protecting her feelings, or waiting to see if you're as solid as you appeared to be. Think about it. If every time she pulls back you panic, you're showing her that your emotions are tied to hers. You're not leading, you're following. And no woman can trust her heart with a man who crumbles when she creates distance. Love isn't just about the closeness, it's also about how you handle the space. When she ignores you, most men either chase or withdraw completely. Both are mistakes. Chasing smothers her and validates her fear that you're not strong enough to hold your own. Withdrawing in bitterness communicates immaturity, as if your love only existed as long as she was feeding it. The correct response is different. It's steadiness. It's continuing to live your life with purpose, not as a performance to make her jealous, but as a demonstration that your center doesn't depend on her constant attention. This is where the second principle comes in. Masculine energy thrives in purpose, not in pursuit of approval. A man who lives for her responses will always be enslaved to them, but a man who lives for his mission, who stays grounded in his path, creates the kind of gravity that draws her back naturally. Women ignore not just because of fear or overwhelm, but sometimes because they're subconsciously checking, can this man hold himself together even when I pull away? And when you prove that you can, you pass a test. Most men fail without even realizing they were being tested. Understand this, her silence is not your enemy. It is an invitation for you to demonstrate who you are when you're not getting what you want. If you become insecure, you reveal dependence. If you become angry, you reveal instability. But if you remain calm, strong, and focused, you reveal strength, the kind of strength that makes her feel safe. Men often forget that women fall in love with how they feel around you. And if she feels that your love collapses into neediness the moment she steps back, the feeling she's left with is fear, not desire. But if she sees that your love is rooted in confidence, that your presence doesn't disappear when her attention does, she will not only respect you, she will be drawn closer to you. Think of it this way, a river doesn't panic when rocks disrupt its flow. It moves around them, steady and unshaken. That's how your presence should feel. When she ignores you, it's not your job to break the silence with desperation, but to let her see that you remain whole without her constant validation. That is what builds trust. That is what builds attraction. So the next time you're in that position, waiting for her to text back, wondering why she's gone quiet, don't let your mind spiral into weakness. Don't rewrite the story in your head to mean she doesn't love you. Instead, remember this, love is not measured by constant communication. Love is measured by whether or not you can hold your ground when silence enters the room. Most men get this wrong because they let their fears dictate their response, but you don't have to. You can choose to embody calm authority, to live out masculine strength, and to understand that her ignoring you might just be her way of loving you, in the only way she knows how. And here's the deeper truth, if she loves you, sometimes she will ignore you, not to hurt you, not to reject you, but to see if your love is strong enough to withstand her silence. The question is, when that silence comes, will you collapse into insecurity, or will you remain the man she fell for in the first place? It begins with a phone lighting up in the dark. That glow is familiar. You've been staring at it for hours, waiting, checking, hoping. The sound of silence fills the room, louder than any ringtone. You swipe the screen, but there's nothing new. No message, no reply, just the stale echo of your own waiting. You tell yourself not to care, but your chest tightens anyway. You remember when she used to answer instantly, when her words came fast and warm, when she made you feel like you mattered more than anyone else. Now the space between messages stretches longer, like a rubber band pulled thin, threatening to snap. Why is she ignoring me? The thought keeps circling, spinning like a restless ceiling fan that won't shut off. You replay your last conversation. Did you say something wrong? Did you come across too eager, too available? Or maybe it wasn't what you said, it was that you said too much. You get up, pace the room, the floor creaks under your weight. You pour a glass of water, but it tastes like nothing. Even the air feels heavy. You stare out the window, watching strangers walk by, wondering how many of them are fighting the same battle in their heads. Then comes the memory, the one you can't shake. The way she laughed that one time, head tilted back, eyes bright, the softness in her voice when she told you she felt safe with you. The way she leaned closer without saying anything, and how silence back then felt like comfort instead of punishment. That version of her feels close and far away at the same time, like a song you can't quite remember the lyrics to. Your phone buzzes, your heart jumps, but it's just a useless notification, some app reminding you to drink water, as if that's the answer. You sigh, rub your face, and the quiet closes in again. Part of you wants to send another message. Just one more. Something simple. Hey, how are you? But you hesitate. You already sent the first one. She saw it, you know she did. You're stuck between wanting to reach out and knowing it'll only push her further away. And here's the hardest part. You can feel she cares. You've seen it in her eyes, in the way she softened when she thought you weren't paying attention. but now she's retreating, putting distance where closeness used to live. You tell yourself she wouldn't ignore you if she didn't feel something, but it doesn't stop the ache. The silence becomes a mirror. It shows you everything you don't want to face, your impatience, your fear of being unwanted, the way you crave her attention more than you'd like to admit. You wonder if she knows this, if she's testing it, if she's pulling back just to see what kind of man you really are when you're not being fed with affection. You sit down, elbows on your knees, staring at the floor, the wood grains blur into patterns. And then you hear your own voice in your head, quieter this time, more honest. If she loves me, why would she ignore me? But another thought cuts through, one that feels heavier, truer. Maybe she ignores me because she loves me. Maybe the feelings scare her too. Maybe she needs the silence to catch her breath. And you realize you've been so focused on what her silence means about you that you forgot it might be about her fears, her doubts, her own unspoken battles. Love doesn't always come wrapped in perfect timing and endless words. Sometimes it shows up as distance, as confusion, as the quiet between two people who feel more than they know how to express. You lean back in your chair. The room feels just as silent, but something inside you shifts. Maybe her ignoring you isn't the end of something. Maybe it's part of the beginning. Maybe it's the space she needs to let the feelings sink in. The phone still hasn't lit up, and for the first time tonight, you don't reach for it. You let it sit there, face down. The silence doesn't sting quite as much because you've stopped trying to fill it, you just let it exist. Outside, the world keeps moving, the hum of traffic, the bark of a dog in the distance, a faint breeze carrying the smell of rain. You close your eyes and breathe it in. For a moment, you feel grounded again, as if the weight pressing on your chest has eased. And though the unanswered message still lingers, though you still wish she'd break the silence, there's something else growing in you, a calm you didn't have before. You realize that her ignoring you doesn't define your worth. It doesn't strip you of who you are. And maybe, just maybe, it's not a rejection at all. Because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides, sometimes it trembles, sometimes it waits in the shadows, afraid to reveal itself fully. And sometimes, if she truly loves you, she will ignore you, not to push you away, but to see if you're strong enough to stand in the silence. You open your eyes, the phone is still dark, the room is still quiet, but for the first time the quiet feels like something you can live with, something you can carry, something that in its own strange way feels like love. Most men don't realize how many false beliefs they carry when it comes to women and love. These beliefs aren't their fault. They're learned from culture, movies, friends who don't know better. But when she ignores you, those false beliefs get triggered. And if you're not careful, they'll make you react in ways that destroy attraction instead of building it. Today, I want to break a few of those lies so you can see the truth more clearly. The first false belief is that love always means constant attention. You think if she really cares about you, she'll text you back right away. She'll always want to see you. She'll always make time. So when she pulls back, when she goes quiet, you start to panic. She must not feel the same anymore. Something's wrong. I need to fix this. But here's what you need to understand. Love doesn't always show up as constant closeness. Sometimes love shows up as space. When feelings are real, they can overwhelm her. She may need to retreat to process them, to protect herself, to see if you're as steady as you seemed in the beginning. Ignoring you isn't always about rejection, it can be about regulation. Silence isn't set, always absence. Sometimes it sets a heartbeat you can set here. When you believe the lie that love equals nonstop attention, you mistake her silence for abandonment. In reality, her ignoring you may be the way she deals with the intensity of her feelings. The second false belief is that her silence must mean something is wrong with you. You didn't get a reply, so your mind instantly fills with doubt. I'm not good enough. I must have bored her. Maybe she's already moved on. You attach your self-worth to her responses, and suddenly her phone habits become the measure of your value. That's not how it works. A woman's distance often says more about her than it does about you. Maybe she's afraid of how much she likes you. Maybe she's guarding her heart. Maybe she's testing whether your calm is real or just a mask. When you let her ignoring you define who you are, you hand away your power. She didn't ghost you, you disappeared from yourself. That's the real danger. Not that she's ignoring you, but that you abandon your own center the moment she does. When you spiral, chase, and over-explain, you lose the strength that drew her in. What keeps her interested isn't your need for her attention, it's your ability to hold your ground without it. The third false belief is that chasing her harder will make her stop ignoring you. Most men fall into this trap. They think, if I just prove how much I care, she'll realize my value. So they double text, they pour out feelings, they push for reassurance. But chasing doesn't show confidence, it shows desperation. It tells her, I can't stand in my own frame. I need you to hold me up. And the harder you chase, the more she pulls away. Why? Because love doesn't grow under pressure. It grows under freedom. A woman can't feel desire for a man who needs her attention like oxygen. A man who needs her attention to breathe will suffocate her love. Here's the truth most men miss. Women aren't looking for perfection, but they are looking for steadiness. They want to know if you can hold your ground when things feel uncertain. Can you stay present, calm, and purposeful when she needs space? Can you love her without making her responsible for your sense of worth? That's what makes her feel safe. That's what makes her return. So let's put this together. She ignores you, and your old beliefs say, she doesn't love me anymore. I must not be enough. If I chase her, I can win her back. But the truth is different. Sometimes ignoring you means her feelings are strong, not weak. Her silence is often about her fears, not your flaws. The more you chase, the more you prove you're not grounded. If she loves you, sometimes she will ignore you, not to hurt you, not to punish you, but because she's wrestling with her own emotions. And in those moments, the question isn't about her silence, it's about your strength. Most men collapse, they hand away their power, they show her that without her constant attention, they lose themselves. And that's when attraction fades. But the men who pass the test are the ones who stay rooted in who they are. They live their purpose. They don't stop being men because she needs space. They keep moving forward, steady, grounded, unshaken. And when she sees that, something shifts. She realizes she can trust you. She realizes you're not like the others. She realizes your love is strong enough to hold steady even in silence. So remember this, her ignoring you isn't always the problem. The real problem is how you respond. Will you collapse? Will you chase? Or will you remain the man she was drawn to in the first place? The way you handle her silence tells her everything about the kind of man you really are. That's the truth most men never learn, and it's the reason why so many fail the very tests that could have proven their strength. The 1% headman doesn't panic when she ignores him. He doesn't see her silence as rejection, because he knows love isn't measured by constant attention. This is what he understands. Space is not the enemy. Space is the stage where his strength and steadiness reveal themselves. Most men collapse when a woman pulls back. They chase, they overthink, they lose their center. But the headman holds firm. He knows her silence might come from her own fears, her own overwhelm, her own need to feel safe. He doesn't make it about his worth. He makes it about his presence. This is how he leads, with presence, not pressure. He continues to live his life with purpose, not as a performance to get her back, but because that's who he is at his core. His calm is the anchor in the storm. His steadiness is the proof she needs. And this is the mindset shift. The headman understands that her silence is not the time to crumble, it's the time to show he remains whole, even without constant reassurance. That's why she comes back. Not because he begged, but because his strength gave her space to trust again. It hits you in a quiet moment, maybe sitting on the edge of your bed, staring at your phone, waiting for a reply that never comes. The silence feels heavier than words ever could. For days, you've been caught in the loop, checking, wondering, replaying conversations in your mind, asking yourself why she's ignoring you if she cares at all. And then, without warning, something shifts. You realize it isn't her silence that hurts the most, it's the way you've abandoned yourself while waiting in it. You see how many times you've paused your own life as if her attention was the air you needed to breathe. And for the first time you notice how small you've made yourself, how dependent you've become on a response that may never arrive. That realization cuts deep, but it also frees you. You remember that before her you existed whole, strong, alive. Your worth was never born in someone else's gaze. It was written into you long before she ever arrived. And in that moment, the waiting ends. Not because she finally texted back, but because you finally returned to yourself. The silence no longer feels like a cage. It feels like proof you were always the one you were searching for. You've been told to fear the silence, to believe that if she ignores you, it means you've lost her. But now you know better. Her distance doesn't define you, it reveals you. It's in that space that you either collapse into neediness or rise into presence. Think back to the beginning when you were questioning why she pulls away if she cares. You've seen the truth, love isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides in the quiet, sometimes it tests whether your center can hold without constant reassurance. And the man who truly understands himself doesn't crumble when attention fades. He deepens. He doesn't chase to fill the silence, he becomes the calm inside of it. The story isn't about whether she comes back or not. The story is about whether you stayed true to yourself while she was gone. Did you forget your own worth in the waiting, or did you remember that you were always whole? Because in the end, this isn't about her ignoring you, it's about you no longer ignoring yourself. The silence you once feared has become your teacher, and it leaves you with one unshakable truth. The man who cannot be abandoned is the man who never abandons himself.